Hi, this is Sweet Life and I'm Natasha, back at it with a recipe for a boiled lobster dinner. When I had my first job after college, I began a practice of cooking something a little special for the federal holidays, my birthday, and year-end holidays. Living in New York, lobsters weren't that expensive to purchase in Chinatown, as they could be purchased for like 3 for $21, 3 for $27, with the price depending on the size. I began cooking them during the summer for Memorial Day or 4th of July. Lobsters are way more expensive in Atlanta, so I typically only make them once per year, most often in late September for my birthday. They're relatively simple to cook, but have a fancy aura that make them a good option for a New Year's dinner for one or two, a birthday dinner, things like that, or, a crowd if you're balling out. When I first began making lobster, I boiled them, but in the years since, I've also steamed, grilled, and made them in the oven. I'm going to start here by showing you how to boil a live lobster. In New York, I would take them home on the train in like a regular bag that they would give you, those like plastic seafood bags. But in Atlanta, I still purchase them live at the farmer's market where they're placed in a bag, but I put them on a bed of ice in a cooler, which I leave the lid slightly open and either open, like just a little bit, or poke a hole in the bag. If I'm going to cook them within the next 12 to 24 hours, I'll take them out of the bag and place them in a bowl in the fridge. Your lobsters should be fine in the fridge for about a day. As long as they were alive when purchased, should one die within 24 hours, you can still go ahead and cook it. But if it's going to be longer than 24 hours before I cook them, I'll leave them in the bag and put them in a second bag and place them in the freezer. When you're ready to cook them, don't defrost them first. You just go ahead and cook them. You could actually split them down the middle if that's how you need them before putting it in the freezer.
So here you have the live lobsters. They look like something prehistoric. Basically, I hold them from behind, get a pair of kitchen shears, cut off the rubber bands, and I boil them in a pot with just lightly salted water. You can also steam them if you'd like. But in this case, I just boil them. I test for doneness is I just pull out the little legs, like one of them, and just check to see if it's opaque. Here I have the lobster. It's been steamed, it's cooked, and I'm just going to take a cleaver and split it down the middle. Just be very careful because it's awkwardly shaped. It doesn't lay flat on the board. You don't want to cut yourself. Just go through the underbelly, that's what I'm calling it, and just take your time cutting through the shell with the cleaver. You really just want to split it open so that you can have it lay flat. And basically what we're going to do is just add a bit more flavor to it. Add some more flavor here by adding some aromatics, some little flavorings, a little bit of butter and things like that, just to punch up the flavor. This green stuff that you see inside is called tamale, which is like the pancreas and stuff like that. It's like internal organs in the lobster. In the past, you would eat it. I ate it and I actually enjoyed the flavor, but currently they warn against it. So here I have a few tablespoons of butter that I've just melted down. I'm going to brush this over the lobster, but first I'm going to add a few flavorful ingredients to it. I have my blended seasoning, which you can find on my website. There'll be a link. It's pretty much just aromatics that are blended together in a blender, and I use this for meat. I add it to rice. It just adds a lot of flavor. A bit of minced garlic, just very, very finely chopped so that you can easily blend it in. And so I'm just going to mix this together with the butter just to make it easier to spread over the lobster. And so you have the butter. If you think of it like usually you eat lobster with like drawn butter. In this case, I'm going to take it and spread it over the lobster, put it into the oven for just a little bit of time, just to give it a chance to bake in, to make it nice and moist, to add a little bit of richness to it, and to add some of these aromatics, some of the garlic and things like that, just to punch up the flavor. But doing it in this way rather than at the table, to me, I think, so you just want to continue going over the lobster with this mix, right? Just taking your time to spread it out. In this case, I used a spoon to roughly distribute it, But then I use my hands to really get in there and make sure that I cover everywhere. I get all in those nooks and crannies, so everywhere gets this flavor, rather than having some areas that have more flavor and some that are more bland. I've reserved a little bit of the butter mixture because I'm going to use it for the sides. In this case, I have some potatoes, and I've just cut them into cubes, not too big, maybe like about an inch or so, and I've reserved some of the butter mixture. It's going to be sort of like, if you think of herb potatoes or like home fries, the only things that I haven't boiled them first. So I have them in the bowl, and to this, I'm just going to take some of that butter and garlic mixture and just pour it over the potatoes. Just not a lot, really just like a few teaspoons of it, but also reserving this for my second side. This is going to help to tie the flavors together, but potato tastes from lobster, so it's not going to taste exactly the same. Really just take the spoon, try to coat all of the potato, ensure that all of it is properly covered. So again, you have even flavor throughout. Just take your spoon, stir it around, try to get everything covered. And to this, I'm now going to add a little bit of black pepper, just to give it flavor, not so much to make it spicy. So I'm not using like a hot pepper. And in addition to this, I'm also going to add some salt. Salt is important because it helps to brighten up flavors. It helps to punch up flavors, but you don't want too much. So just a little bit of salt, just a little bit of black pepper, just to add a little bit of flavor. And we're just going to keep layering on flavors from here. Just really taking the spoon, taking the time to stir everything together, mix everything together. So we've added like salt and pepper. We want to make sure that's evenly distributed. So you just take your time, stir it all up, mix it all up. Make sure you have your flavor properly distributed, that you don't have some areas that are heavily salted and then you have other areas that have no flavor because they don't receive any of the seasonings. Okay, and so now to the potatoes, I'm going to add some herbs. Really, it's your choice. For me, the way that I do recipes is based on whatever I have on hand and what I personally like. So a little bit of thyme, a little bit of basil, whatever herbs you might have on hand, whatever herbs you might like, perfectly fine to go ahead and use them. Don't like overdo it, but it's really your choice. And so now I'm just going to pour this into a baking sheet that I've lined with a bit of foil just to make for easy cleanup. And I'm going to spread this out, but not take over the entire pan because I'm going to put my vegetable on the pan as well. So you can kind of think of it as like a one pan dish. You have one pan with the lobsters, you have another pan with the potato and your vegetable, which is just going to make for easy cooking and then also for easy cleanup. In this case, because I'm using yu choy, which is a bit long and I haven't cut it, I am going to move the potatoes to sit like the long way next to it. You can certainly use other vegetables if you wanted, spinach, bok choy, whatever vegetable happens to come to mind. In this case, I went to the farmer's market. This is what I saw, and I thought that they looked really nice. So really nice, bright, vibrant green. And just like with the lobster and the potato, I'm just going to drizzle over the butter mixture. So as it cooks down, it's going to absorb those flavors. It's going to punch up the natural flavor of the yu choy. And so you have a relatively healthy side in the yu choy. Now the potato, not so much because, carbs and things like that, and it's not the healthiest option. But, you could easily do mushrooms. You can do like summer squash or something like that. It's really your call. And so now that I've got this set up on the pan, it's going to go into the oven. Nothing too crazy. 375, 350. And so here I have the lobster, my vegetables and potatoes in the oven. The lobster isn't going to spend much time in there. It's really just to heat it up, cook the butter into it. I'm really going to pay attention to the potatoes. I test for doneness with a paring knife, just poking it. It should be tender. And I plate this up really simply Just you can put the potato and vegetables off to the side, but in this case I had a nice little platter and just decided to lay it out this way. I think it's just like a nice, interesting presentation. Would make for a really great dinner, like a romantic dinner, or even for the holidays.
Thanks for tuning in. To ensure you don't miss any episodes, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, and check out my cooking at home playlist. Go ahead and click that thumbs up button if you like what you saw, and go ahead and share it on social media.